I'm Carrie Blount, Places of Welcome Facilitator for the Black Country with Transforming Communities Together. And I'm really pleased to be with Pete and Jen Ford today, who are Places of Welcome coordinators for Aldridge Parish Church. Sadly, they are stepping down after some years of service, so I just wanted to have a chat with them and find out what their place of welcome was like, what it meant to them. So, catching up with you then, Pete and Jen. Can you remember how long it's been since you had your place of welcome?
We've just been trying to think back, and we think it's nearly 7 years. It's probably just over 6 years. And we went to an initial one in Birmingham, and then I think it was at Cars Lane, and then we went to another meeting a few months later. I think it was in Darlaston, which I think was about 2 years after the start of Place of Welcome in the area.
So it was running for quite some time. And do you remember why it is you felt like you wanted to join the network?
You went along to a meeting, didn't you, and heard about it and said, I think we should do one in Aldridge. We'll start it and see what happens.
So what did your typical place of welcome look like? What sort of people go to it?
We met in the church. We ummed and ahed as to whether to meet in the church. And we felt that the church was the right place because people would be passing. And so we set it out, first of all, with a big table that people could sit round. We had coffee and biscuits. And we also had some activities on the go. But the most popular thing we had on the go was we always had a jigsaw puzzle.
Nice.
And everybody liked these jigsaw puzzles and used to come along and put their 5 or 6 pieces in, and then we'd do a swap around. Somebody else would take their place. Personally, I never entered into the jigsaw, but
were you too busy?
Pete was always very keen on the jigsaw. So yes, and then people came and went as they wanted to. But we always had a nice, strong team, and I think that's an important part of having a place of welcome. You need a good, strong team back with you to support you.
So how do you think it benefited the church and the community having that time there, a place of welcome?
I think it probably had more impact on a small number. So we had occasional visitors who came just wanted to see the church, being a historic building. And they would come, and particularly in the sort of the better weather and the nicer months, people would be out for a walk and just see the church was open, and they would come in and look around. But probably not in the numbers we'd hoped it might have been, except one time we did have a special sort of history day, and that was part of some initiative going on in the area, and we put on a special presentation and linked it in with the place of welcome. And that was about 2 years ago, I think. It was before lockdown, obviously, but I think we must have had at least 50 people came to that. So that was probably the biggest time that we really were able to sort of explain some of the history of the church. So for the community side, I think, yes, we did have some input there. And then we would get occasionally church members would come and just sort of join us as well.
That's quite good, really, because it's place of welcome, I suppose, for anyone, aren't they? So
yes,
you were reaching out to the community and getting people who wouldn't ordinarily come to church then.
Yeah.
We also had people who came along and said, "Oh, I've been meaning to come to church," and suddenly they'd appear on a Sunday morning and join us for worship, and some of them did become regular members.
Broke down a bit of a barrier to coming through past the church doors.
Well, it's not always easy just to walk into a church, certainly on a Sunday morning. And some of them have said, "Oh well, I've been thinking about coming." They knew us, they saw us, and said, "Well, we're there," and they felt that they could come. But
what would you say was probably one of the highlights for you then of running your place of welcome? If you had one takeaway that from your time, your 7 years of running it.
Difficult to say, really. I think that the history day I've already mentioned was perhaps a highlight. I think because we actually got somebody, I don't know who put it on, but there's a post on Facebook. So I think it's Facebook that people go on and about Aldridge Church, and that's the first thing that they is there. There's a post from that which just says went to a history day at Aldridge Church and made an interesting talk and made very welcome. So to me that was probably the biggest highlight with a larger number of people and having an impact into the community that particular day.
Yeah, I think one of the highlights for me is that people would feel welcome in just walking into the church and coming and getting to know us, and then just sitting around and chatting. And telling us about their families, telling about what's happening. A few of them had illness in the family and they were able to open up and explain to us. We had a few people who had new grandchildren, and so we were sharing photographs. And one lady had a long-awaited grandchild, and then the daughter was very poorly, so we were able to share that with her as well. So
supporting each other, coming alongside people.
We were able to support them, and then in a way they felt they could come and tell us about it. So we felt that was very valuable.
Sharing people's lives in your town.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to let the occasion go without saying thank you for your hard work and having your place of welcome? So I brought you a little gift. Some flowers for you.
Beautiful, thank you.
And no flowers for me.
Well, tradition of place of welcome, we have brought you a tin of biscuits.
That's very kind. Well, certainly into our, probably on our Wednesday worship service. But again, we do that on a Wednesday. But we found that things we've learnt from Place of Welcome have transferred over into this service that we do, and on a Wednesday. And most of the people now stay for drinks and for a chat, which is, again, I think part of what I think Place of Welcome has taught us how important that is.
One of the things we did have was one of the people who came from the church. He made himself a sandwich board, and we put all the Place of Welcome. You know, we're now open, and he used to go around the village on the Tuesday morning with the sandwich board. And he did get quite a few people coming along. I think some people sort of felt sorry for him really and said, "We're going to come because we've seen him a number of times. We have to come and see what goes on." Unfortunately, the weight of the sandwich board, I think, didn't do his back any good, so he had to abandon it.
Certainly a bit of different promotion though, that isn't it really?
Yeah.
Not heard of that one before. We appreciate it, thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.